2, and we'll call the meeting of the Village Trustees of North Bennington to order. Tuesday, April 10th, 2018. We're at the Village Depot offices, and first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2018 meeting. Is there, have people had an opportunity to review the minutes? Is there any questions or editorial comments on the, if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I think the only thing on there is a really minor thing. It just says up top that Warren was here, and then down below he wasn't.
How about
And I
that?
remember he wasn't here, so you were in two places at once last week, Mike. Well
I
done.
wasn't here.
Yeah.
So I think we just have to scratch off that he was present, but it does say in the highway department that he was not here. So that was another thing I saw. Other than that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Seconded.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that'll pass. And the next order of business is to review the monthly warrant and approve payment of the bills.
Do you need copies?
Yeah, so if we have an
here
official
it is.
copy that we can
Okay,
sign.
here it is. There's the payroll one on the top and then 2 pages of the regular warrant.
That's all right. You want to start off?
So let's start with the warrant, the regular warrant, not the payroll warrant. So any questions on that? For the expenses for the month? Is the Reynolds and Sons is the backhoe payment?
Is that a $20,000 one?
No.
That's a fire department. That is some of their canisters.
Okay. And is that, I can't remember what that was compared to, there
Well-
was this expense last month as well?
Well, no, this was an expense that is going to be between this year and next year. They budgeted it in next year. It is actually not budgeted for this year because it was budgeted last the year before that, and they didn't do it. It was left on the table, and we kind of got mixed up a little thinking that it was in this budget year, so they had them on order, and they just got the thing in. So I will actually show you a little bit later on, but I've got where we are year to date with things. And last year, the fire department left $20,000 unused from their budget, and they will be probably $5,000, $6,000 over their budget this year.
So, and I think, I understand that we had been in, the expense about the canisters have been explained. We got
Yes,
that-
yes,
that
the
that was-
expense was explained.
But this is the actual expense.
This is the
Right.
actual expense for the piece that when we were doing budget, we said they would split it up. And hence, we increased the budget for last year, but this is the actual budget for the piece that they're doing this year.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the warrant.
Second.
Is there any opposed to approving that warrant? Hearing no objection, we'll consider that approved by unanimous consent. And we'll move on to the payroll warrant. And that is in the amount of $7,546.58. Looks like there's just one, but there's just a couple of besides the normal.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll warrant.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion's been moved and seconded, and if there's no objection, we'll consider that approved by unanimous consent.
See that?
I'm going to assume that there are no citizen comments, given that there are no citizens here. If anybody wants to comment on YouTube, please feel free to do so. I don't know if that will be read or not, but. And Mary, do you have a report from the treasurer?
Yes, I would mention that on the report of cash balances that I had included as one of the myriad of attachments the other day was all of our cash balances, and you'll see that our general fund is looking pretty strong right now, but we did get our state payment for the backhoe. So that did come in, and it's looking, all that paperwork went through well, so that's good. The other thing that I have here, and I do have 5 copies, so we can take one and pass it on, is this is just a report in the same order as our budget. So it is comparing last year to where we are this year through either 9 or 10 months. It depends on, like, most of the payroll is through 10 months, but some of the other expenses are actually only through 9 months. And then where we are with the budget. I put in here, when we have when we approved last year for certain reserves, I noted them as though they are paid through. Right now, they're indicated in italics because they will be funded. But this is just to give you an idea of what we have left in our budget for roughly 2.5 months. So, for instance, in our general section, we had approved a budget of $53,300. We have $9,100 left for the next 2 months, 2+ months to do that. The fire department is where you'll see the expense there of those canisters, and that is already exceeded slightly the budget that was set for the year. They have few other expenses of significance that will come in the rest of the year. Maybe another gas bill or something, and a couple small electric bills and things like that. But there really isn't probably a whole lot more that's coming in. Under the public works, yet to be expended, there's another $3,600 before that caps out. And then, of course, there's the reserved money for any significant projects that need to be done. And not to read the whole thing, but you can go down through the report and kind of see where we are. I think we're sitting in good stead. I did notice that we did have an expense in December, paid a bill for the sidewalk grant, and I haven't seen that money come back from the state. So I will follow up, and BCRC can help us with that. We matched everything else, but there's one thing, so I think we're missing a little over $1,000 right there. And that's it. We have a few of the payments to other organizations that have not yet requested Lori to have those checks, and assuming they will at the end of the year. And that's that. So take a look, and I'll do the same thing next month as we come a little bit closer and closer to our end of year.
And we're going to start getting bills from the sidewalk project pretty soon now from Weaver and BCRC, but it's my understanding the process is that BCRC actually prepares the invoice as well as sends it directly to the state at the same time.
Yes, they do.
So we actually, we do pay it out, but the process is already put through to receive the reimbursement.
Yes.
Before we sign it.
And I
So-
think in talking to them before, we actually could wait to get the reimbursement, but we can pay it. It doesn't put us at any disadvantage, and certainly we would want to keep our vendors in with a good relationship there. So I don't really see any need to hold payment. But it's been pretty prompt, other than that one that I haven't tracked down. Everything else is quite prompt.
Then you talked to Stacy Exware about the invoicing or?
Who's
at
Stacy?
At BCRC.
Yes, I have spoken with her before. I mean,
She was the one that prepared the invoice for me. for the-
Right, she gives me.
yeah, she gives
She
them
sends them all to
Lori,
me.
and then Lori gives me a copy.
I give Mary a copy after I sign them,
Yeah.
sign them.
But I will say, on March 29th, we have $400 and $420, some odd number. It doesn't match.
477. 477.
Is that what I told you?
Yeah.
And it had some odd notation on it. I have no idea what it is, so I have to call the state and see why they're giving us money. I don't know if has to do with taxes, property taxes,
No.
and they're doing some kind of a true up. There sometimes is some of those, but they usually, for North Bennington, they do it by check and send it to the SVSU. Everybody else, they just go into their account, not North Bennington. So, yeah, I mean, $400 isn't huge, but we'll find out what that is.
Any comments from the board on the treasurer's report or the balance sheet or the expense report?
Oh, I will mention one other thing on our delinquent taxes. Finally, tracked down who now owns the house on 40 Main Street here.
Oh.
So, yes, they will not talk to me yet, but at least I know. So their tax department now at least has the delinquent notice. And so we will go from there. But yes, it was 2 hours to try to get on the phone with people to figure out.
Which state is that one in?
That one's now in Orange, California. It's a company out of Orange, California.
It's not Evergreen.
No, it's called, give me a minute, Rushmore.
Oh, yeah, no, that would count. That's what.
Yeah. So the company that whatever you call it, the mortgage foreclosure company that had it last year, apparently it got bundled and sold to this other company who really didn't want to tell me that they owned it, but I finally did find out that they do, and then finally found out where to send the tax bill. So even though I can't talk to a real live person, at least I'm getting closer to that, so that's always annoying. Then we had another vacant property that was on River Road, and tracked them down and got that paid last month.
Great.
Okay.
So if you're interested, when I find out, I can give you contact information for this company who owns that dilapidated property.
Yeah, you just send an email.
Okay.
Sometimes I like to just call, take it on as a challenge. How long it takes to somebody's here.
And that is it for the month, thank you.
Okay. Report from the highway department?
Well, as you can see, the snow is still coming. Not much, hopefully just nuisance. Pretty much we've wrapped up our new backhoe. I just got it back with everything. So it should be 100% complete. Now the only thing that we need to do is get together with Mary and the leagues and cities and towns, and the Vermont Local Roads wants us to write an article about it because we're the first ones to actually push through the whole process and succeed. As you can see, I sent a picture around a while ago. I don't know if everybody got it, but the trucker came to pick ours at 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning. But, so we got here, luckily, but we pre-planning on our part, we were ready to load them up and get them out of here. So that was good. So our old one's now gone. Mary's got the check. I did give you the check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. that's all.
Trust me, that was
Okay.
great.
Mary's got the check and that's all done. So now we used it on our first project the other day, ripping out the bushes up here for the new sidewalk job. We cleaned up our boneyard quite a bit, getting ready for the upcoming season and having to put stuff in there. So that's pretty good. Our sweeper, we're just finishing up. We had to get some tires. We needed to talk with Mary about getting an account in a couple different places because we had to go find some used ones. And they're still pretty expensive. They're $1,200, you know, but it was uninspectable. You know, they're involved. So we got those. Got all the brooms put on today, serviced. So the next time it rains, we still don't have the water pump that sprays water on the road. We're looking into a couple different options, but I'll probably wait till after July because of the expense on the tires. And then, you know, we'll start sweeping. We've swept all the sidewalks already. And again, that was a broom that we acquired last year through surplus, works slicker than slick. Because it's smaller, gets around. So once we get some rain, Zach will be out there doing that, and the buildings will get cleaned up pretty good.
Looks like you have plenty of opportunity this week. As I look at the forecast.
Yeah, unless it's going to do something tomorrow.
Thursday's the wet day.
Right? Can't be wet. It's just got to be damp.
Yeah, we know that, don't we?
So,
We do.
but anyways, so we'll start doing that. You know, we removed the hay. We started doing some of the yard cleanups and stuff like that. Pretty much plugging away. We met. They're gonna start the construction of the sidewalk expansion. Should be next week. The contractor that was awarded that was Weaver. He's out running around, putting up signs and, you know, doing his stuff. I see a piece of machine has landed right in the next door neighbor's yard, probably for that. So you'll see some curving going in, and they expect that to be completed within a month, I believe. You know, so weather pending, that'll go with no problem. Not really a whole lot. I'm sure I'll think of something after.
That's been a long time coming on that sidewalk. I mean,
Yeah.
Ever since you've been here, I think we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was a grant that David Monk started, and it was one of the priority areas that was identified in his scoping study of all the sidewalks in the village. And especially, I think I've mentioned it before, but especially because you have foot traffic from people, just pedestrians walking, but also families from, you know, Harvest Hills and other areas that are coming down through there with a stroller or whatnot, and there really is no sidewalk left there, so they're walking right in the roadway. And V-Trans actually does studies of intersections, and that is a high volume intersection here in that Florida corner, so it's above average for the population.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky with the homeowners on the west side of the street that we've had to deal with, and there's a couple things that we had to move out of the way, and those guys are, you know, being very helpful for that. And that made the process a lot smoother because it would have got held up on a little more red tape and a few other things if we couldn't have done that. So that's been all done. So that's pretty much it. We do have an executive piece to talk about real quick. And that's property management.
And not to jump into another sidewalk, we're actually excited about a new one, but just in going on a few runs, the sidewalk heading out toward Variety, just past where we, heading out to Variety, or Bennington Variety,
Yeah, which one?
just when we get past the church, all the marble pieces, I mean, you have,
Oh, yeah.
it is an
That,
absolute disaster right now.
that,
Almost to the point where we might want to consider putting some signs up and just saying sidewalk closes, sidewalk on the other side. We obviously aren't gonna get right into that, but I mean, there are marble pieces that are, I'm sure you know, you must have been dealing with that in the last few times you had to deal with any snow. They are lifted, twisted, it is so uneven. I mean, we might want to consider just closing the sidewalk.
Well, it's been somewhat of a discussion of policy as to whether or not we should consider just having one good sidewalk on some of these roads, on one side or the other.
I mean, the short-term fix could be to just pull the marble and drop some gravel down, just to make it an even surface, but I just,
well,
it's,
that,
again, not knowing what the cost or expense or anything else would be, but.
well,
I think we just have to do
that would be
something.
your, probably your cheapest thing. And we could do that, but then come wintertime, we'd have to close the sidewalk, because as soon as we start plowing, it would just be
Yeah,
obliterated. And that, those sides are, you know, there's some, we're gonna talk about a little field trip, because, you know, we have this other sidewalk here on Holmes Street, that, again, on the west side of that street. It's just,
and there's
it's
nothing,
horrible, and we don't even plow it half the time.
there's nothing you can do with that,
Can't
because
get
the
through
roots
it.
that are growing through that.
What's that?
You can't do anything with that anyway, because the roots growing through it, we'd have to take out all those trees to do anything with that sidewalk.
No, not on Holmes Street, no. That's all,
You're talking.
Between on the opposite side of the street.
yes.
On the same side as the church, down below.
Oh, that
That's
spot,
part
oh,
We're talking about the
yeah.
other side of the street. Yeah,
No, I'm talking about,
Doesn't appear to be a sidewalk.
Yeah.
On the other side.
I'm talking about like going through our little park and then up and around
Yeah.
by Jeff's and then up through.
We'd be talking about taking a lot of
It's-
property from.
You know, it's this wide, you know, whether we decide that we're just gonna pull it up and abandon that one, replant grass and, you know, and be done with it. It is horrible. It's sunk in, you know, everything's built up around it, until we're ready to, you know, throw a curb in there and deal with it. You know, that certainly, through the month, you really should take a look at it. Everybody go, just take a walk, maybe stop in and talk to a homeowner or two, and see what's going on and what their thoughts of it are. I know a couple of them have some pretty strong opinions, and, you know, one of them is, you know, so much that, you know, wants it all gone. You know, where the right thing is, I don't know, but we have that one, we have obviously the one, like you said, on Bank Street, that marble side, it is, it's terrible.
Yeah, talk about abandoning that sidewalk as you come through the park. Not too sure you could put a crosswalk there because it's right on kind of, I don't know if they'd let us put a sidewalk in there to get to the other side where the good sidewalk is in front of the church and.
But I think you'd have to, you know what I mean, there probably should be one there now. But
Yeah.
it's, you know, something.
It's worth looking at.
Let's get this project done, find out what we've got done, and see what we have
Before we jump into the next.
reserve, and then
Yep.
start building it back up for those projects. But I can see a quick, like you said, starting to just pull all of that on Bank Street.
Even the ones that are real bad, just kind of filling in with some, especially if we get the grindings from the
Yeah, what about that?
road work and things like that. I mean, that would.
We'll get the grindings from the road. It's in the summer. If they're like the old days when it was real tarry blacktop and it would pack, but the grindings aren't like that anymore. You know, they're more like just kind of dirt. I mean, they're certainly better than dirt. But maintaining that in the wintertime, it would just disintegrate. I mean,
Right, but we have a good sidewalk on the other side, so it could be that we close it.
right. And then
I can't imagine you're gonna be able, even in the condition it's in now, you're not gonna be able to plow that next winter in the condition it's in. You're gonna be hitting the marble,
No.
destroy equipment.
It's just like that one up along the school side.
Yep.
That should be totally okay.
We want to would you take a closer look and maybe make a recommendation?
Yes, I will.
Would that,
Yep.
does that work, Mark?
Yeah, give me a call, I'll go with you.
Yep, we can go out and take a walk on it. You know, I'd hate to take a spray paint every lift, well, which we probably should, because then you kind of ruin all that marble. somebody wants to use it for something else.
Okay, can you just briefly, or I could, one of us should maybe just alert the board and everybody to the MRGP, the new permits that are.
Sure, we went to a seminar today with the Regional Planning Commission and a couple other state entities. There's this municipal general grant permit, and what the layman's terms is it's water. It's all stored under the feds and trying to clean up the water. There's a series of dates and timelines. You have like 1 or 2 years to get this inventory done, which we'll work with the Regional Planning Commission for ours to do it. You can get a grant up to $8,000, so ours will be easy to do that. And then it goes into, you take roads that are attached to water within 500 feet, and then you say, well, what can we do to worry about, to take care of runoff or spill? And, it could be, a dirt road that you grade, just making sure that it has adequate banks and slopes and your DIs that you clean out so often. Going down something like Water Street is making sure how the pipes go across and they're not all washing out, and that everything's pretty much in shape. And there's some fees, they're working on adjusting them. Right now there's a statewide one fee for every community, so if you have a community the size of Burlington, they pay the same as the size of North Bennington. And there, people threw up the BS flag and said, this is not fair, we need to make it, sizable. So there's legislation in the two houses right now, and it's passed one of them, either the Senate or the House, and it's going to the other one, and it's already been read once, and then it'll go in the government. The governor is anticipated to sign it. So basically what it is it's another piece of paper. It's going to come to the town clerk, then it'll go to the select board, or the chairs, or the trustees, or however, and you fill it out and you say, okay, well, we're working on getting this inventory done, and there's a map online. Mary I gave her the information that I had, because she was asking me about it this morning. And you can go online and it shows a map of, say, the village of North Bennington, and then it shows all these little purple spots. And the purple spots are identified as possible problem areas. And what they break them into is 300-foot segments. So, a road, like Water Street, right? Once we get past Haviland's Privilege and the fountain, it's not a problem till the river. Well, that one kind of is, because of the DIs go into the river and they connect. But, so anyway, so the segments are like 300 feet. And once all that goes through, then you're going to have so many years to bring everything up to code. And it was kind of led to believe that there'll be some grant money to help you with this. But right now, if they drew a line in the state and said what is out of code and what is in code, like 50% of our roads are already in code right now. They would pass right now with no problem. So it's not really as big a deal as people think. It's like, oh my God, we're a horrible polluter. Well, we're not. So that process will work its way out and through. But unfortunately, there's a $400 application fee because you have a municipal entity, and then there's a $200 management fee from the people, $290 or something, and then there's a $2,000 fee, which that's the one that they're trying to cut down. But hopefully, we had talked for years about, and I've researched it several times, about getting like an oil water separator grant for over by the firehouse in that DI, because that's pretty much where most of our stormwater collects, to that central point. And some of these fees and this money would open up some grants to like deal with that. Do we have a big polluting problem in our river? I don't think so. I see people fishing in it all the time. So, but we can always do better. The country as a whole is trying to do better, and it's by 2036. So you won't see me around at that time to make sure it's finished.
So all of the sections of road that are identified as impacting water are gonna have to be to the state specification by 2036. It's on a scale, you know, by year and stuff, by priority, but bottom line is that we are gonna have to bring everything to compliance by then. And there's a new revenue generating source of fees here that the state's just gonna whack us with every year. And it's, right, they're talking about how much exactly it's gonna be, but it's gonna be something that's not nothing, and it's gonna be every year. And I think there are more grant programs available to us, but whether we are the ones that are gonna be getting those grants is very questionable in my mind, because I think that both the revenue that they're trying to generate and the grants they're trying to appropriate are primarily gonna be used for the Champlain basin, because Lake Champlain is a big problem, so. But we'll see, hopefully we can benefit from a bigger pot of money available for grants, but I thought it was a pretty interesting discussion. There were two regional A&R and agency another state department, I'm just forgetting. Jim Ryan, I can't remember where he was from, but they're available to us to talk to and discuss, you know, how we can make these improvements in an efficient way. So, I think that I want to check with the DRB about an issue there. I think there's a parking issue at the Head Start building and Park Street. It seems like they don't have sufficient parking there, and that they're parking on Parks at least
They don't.
at least
They are
4 vehicles
every
are
day
parking on Park
parked,
Street.
yeah.
Every
And
time I've been out that way, I've seen 2 cars.
They just built a new parking lot.
exactly.
And
Right.
they're so short.
And when you go for review on the DRB, you know, they're supposed to be thinking about how many spaces we're gonna need. And so I've talked to Dennis McCarthy, and I want to just run this by Jim Sullivan, who was most likely at those meetings when they were proposing that new development, and I just want to check first before we, you know, raise an issue with them, because I want to make sure what the understanding was when they were granted the permit, and then make sure that there was, first of all, there was compliance with the permit, but then second of all, if there was compliance, and then it's just an issue that's developed, that we can still go to them and say, hey, this is not.
Is it like a morning drop-off kind of?
No,
It's not
it's
that
all
they're-
day.
Every day, it's
It's
not-
all day.
It's all day.
Yeah, there's always a couple of cars parked just where the concrete turns to dirt. And they're parked on the shrub side away from Park McCullough. And that does tend to make a single lane road right there, because the road right now is not in great shape.
Wait,
And
they're on the-
forces you into like a ditch that's forming quite happily.
Which side are they parking? It looks like
They're
they're parking on
parked-
the Park McCullough side.
No, they're parked on their own side of the road. Just outside the parking
They
area.
usually park just where the transition is between the concrete and the dirt. I think the cones that went up in front of Park McCullough were probably to stop them from parking there, because it's really wet, so there's a lot of.
It was, Alan McCullough had a problem with people destroying their lawn. Across the street, adjacent on West Street to the school, we had to pave that little ditch, you know what I mean? Because they were, again, it was, you know, drop off people.
Right.
They don't use the pull off, they pretty much just go wherever the heck they want. They don't care. Whatever I'm doing is more important than everybody else, and, you know, that's the attitude that they have. And you're right, that's,
But I think that employees are parking up on Park Street.
they are, and you know why? Because they go out there and smoke.
Oh, I knew that. I totally
And
was gonna
that's,
say that.
because they gotta be off.
They have to
the
be off the
property.
property a certain distance,
So
so
that's-
they go up to
so
that
that's why
space,
they
and they
sit
smoke
there.
on the wall right there in front of Vince's house, and then they go back down. Yeah.
Well, and it is it's a public roadway that doesn't have, there's not the no parking regulation there, which we have the ability to put there, but I just don't wanna, I'd rather have a conversation first before we.
Figure out what the problem is,
Yeah.
where it started.
Because I think that they would be open to trying to, if it is employees, I'm sure that the management would say, okay, you need to.
Well, the college is open to that discussion too, but they can't seem to make the students mind, so
Well,
that's,
I think it's different. I think it's a smaller institution. That's there, so.
same mentality with the others.
So for any residents of Park Street, just want to say that there is movement to address that issue. Okay, and I guess, is there any kind of a report or anything from the DRB? Is any? you're on the
Yeah, I am
DRB
on,
too?
and
So,
the past year, not a lot has happened.
Okay.
We've approved a few things that had.
anything in the last month
variances
though?
or-
or- No, okay. And I don't think we have a report from the fire department tonight.
Let me make a report just about the DRB and planning and where we're at.
Oh, yeah.
We need to make some appointments, but it's unclear exactly. And so I just kind of went through where I think we are now.
Great.
We are going to have, we have had and are in the process of having some resignations. One, and it's not official yet, so we're kind of not wanting to appoint people until we know that Marty Cummings, who has suggested that he thinks it's time for him to step down. And he was on both of those commissions. And so it looks like what we have now in planning are three members. We need to appoint two. And the DRB, that's given Marty not being on there, that we had 5. Dennis stepped down to be interim zoning administrator. I think at some point he'd like to be back on this board. But what we have now is 4. And so there would be a space for someone to, at least for the short term, maybe fill that board so that when issues come, there's kind of a quasi-legal body that needs to kind of have a full deck to deal with.
Can Dennis not be on that board?
He
while
cannot.
That's okay, so he can't do all that.
That's the issue.
Becky Manning might be willing to join.
But there's, that's without Marty though.
That's without Marty, so we're gonna wait. I mean, he's made it clear he wants to.
He did, he called me and left a message saying that, and I actually mentioned it at our last meeting, that he had done that, thank him, so I'm pretty sure it's a done deal, I'm sure he hasn't done the official.
We just want to fish.
Sure.
And we did have a letter of interest this week from Chris Damon from Corey Acres to join either the DRB or the Planning Commission or both, and this is somebody that Dennis McCarthy knows.
Yep.
So there is some interest in filling those positions, so if anybody else has an interest too.
Well, when we had the shift happening with Dan stepping out and Dennis coming in, I had asked Becky Manning on West Street if she wanted to come on, and then we took on Charlotte before that. But I think that she would be interested if we wanted to fill the DRB slot with anyone other than this guy. Statement.
So let's delay him up on those appointments so we can get this all figured out. And
And if we want to let Marty know that in order to fill a slot, we have to have somebody give us a notice that they're going to be resigning.
get official letter. Retirement. Okay, that's all from
All
that.
right. And we talked about the canisters. I think that I don't have anything else from the fire department.
I would mention that many of you were missed at the firemen's annual dinner on Saturday. You were aware of that, right?
I was not, but I also was at intercollegiate zones, so I wouldn't know.
I think they gave you that, well, I think that night you maybe got a thing for it. but-
Oh, I might have gotten
Yeah.
something, but I think I was.
And I didn't think I was gonna be able to make it, but when John couldn't make it, I figured I better go. How was the concert?
Great.
So Aaron and I went. I don't know where Mark was, but
I had a very
It was great, because the college is in the process of rebuilding their commons. We were relegated to the side dining area, but it was nice, and it was pretty cool to see all the awards going to the members. You know, they get their pins for the various 5-year increments of service, and you know, there's a couple people who have been there 55 years on the department, and both the Luces and Luce senior and junior together equal 95 years or something. And the food was good, and I want to thank the college, because as I understand it, the college puts that on for the department at their expense as an appreciation for the fire department. So in the future, it's good to try to represent the town as much as we can, but I understand, I actually missed the last 1 or 2 years myself. So.
That's fun.
Anything from the water board? The only thing I know is that we had the first meeting for the reboot for the extension. Primarily on Park Street at this time, and we were able to have a site visit and talk about some issues that we're having on Park Street. And there's a project manager from Otter Creek that's a liaison. There's a liaison essentially between the contractor and the other stakeholders. So we're trying to address some of those issues, and I think we're hopefully making progress there. There was definitely one pretty good sized tree that had split either last year during the disturbance, or it had been disturbed so much that it had moved or something. The tree was just basically hanging, and so it needed to be removed. And I think that has been removed. You know?
It hadn't removed it last Friday. We went, that was Ron Penrook, like I
think it's
was tasked to do, and we identified 4 trees that need to go. There's 2 within 3 feet of each other from the big one that was cracked. He, after we had that conversation, was going to call the project manager back and then try to work that out.
Did you had asked me the date of that race? I sent it back to you. Did you get that? Okay.
Yes, when I was in that meeting, they had that.
It's a Sunday, so I know they typically don't work on a Sunday anyway, right?
They don't,
But it'd be good for them to know, so
they got some
can make
big
sure
issues
things
to
are-
overcome before we get there. I mean, you've seen that road, so.
What?
It's going to be an ankle twister for a run.
Yeah, when is that race?
May 6th?
Yeah, I don't have it here, but
It's usually the first Sunday in May.
Any chance of they rerouting that road?
That's got a 40 some odd year history. I'm guessing not.
Okay.
Because it's a certified course.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it would take something to remove it, especially at this point.
And the other project that they have is the water system improvement, which is a new. We discussed at the last meeting. They're going to be requesting a bond from the village of North Bennington, a $2.7 million project to improve the existing water line that is, as the chairman of the board says often, the 100-year-old system that hasn't been upgraded ever. So they're trying to make substantial upgrades to the system, including as the biggest one, the main transmission line from Shaftesbury Village to basically here is a shot basically through the woods, and it's one single line. And if that were to rupture or have a leak or something, the water for the whole village would be shut down. So they wanted redundancy there of two separate lines, and that's the biggest item in the project. And we're working with them to try and make sure that that meets with our approval as far as the disturbance to the village and the roads and that, while not interfering with their needs to do what they need to do with the system. So, and there is a great opportunity to get grant funding through a federal bond / grant. So if a large portion of that can be covered by grant, then I think it would be really great for the village to try and take advantage of that opportunity. But
So that's through the USDA Rural Development grants.
yes. Okay, so that takes care of water issues. Any new business?
I'm just noticing, or I've been thinking about Green Up Day, just May 5th. Do you think there's any interest in maybe doing something? I was thinking about approaching the college to see, and maybe even the schools to see.
Yeah, we already have a program at school that we follow for cleanup. You know, the little guys clean up around the playground, and the older they get, they go out a little bit further, and certain sections of the village they do.
I wonder if we could help.
Sure, I mean, it'd be great if you wanted, you know, to combine it. I'm not sure.
When it,
So we'll do something on the 27th for Earth Day. And then we do something the fall, and then Arbor Day is right after that, right? Because we're planting a tree,
Yeah.
so we're gonna do a cleanup and plant a tree at the lake.
Yes,
This
that's
year.
my understanding.
But yeah, we'd love to.
okay, yeah,
See if
maybe
the
there's a way to
Yeah.
combine or see if the, I mean, I think the college, we've done, there's that service day.
And maybe the tree.
Yeah, so if they want to combine, I mean, they could also, if they want to go around to the parks, I'd be happy to go around.
That's what
And
I'm
I think
thinking.
it's the 5th, so it'll be a Saturday.
I think they sometimes do like a service day in May, it may not coincide with Green Up Vermont, but maybe we could
If they're interested, yeah, just
choose
have
one of
anybody
them
who wants to,
and then
yeah.
have.
I could overwork fairly
Okay,
easily.
great.
Yeah,
And if
but-
anybody knows who's on our, I know we have a tree committee, but I don't know who's on it, but maybe the tree.
Matthew.
Matthew is,
Oh,
Well, sort of.
oh, well,
Emily and I, my wife and I are both tree wardens. She's on the committee.
Okay.
I'm not really on the committee. The chair is Jeff Gray.
well, I just thought of that because the money that was appropriated last year hasn't been used yet.
Well, they've already spent that in terms of like the tree that they plant every year typically goes to.
Well, no one's asked for it, so.
Okay, we're asking.
Oh,
I think,
thanks, Kurt.
I think that's one that we had established before that should just,
We just automatically pay that, okay,
Yeah.
so we'll put that on next.
and that's usually,
Okay,
for a while there, you were paying it, I'm not sure whether it was at the end of the fiscal year or the beginning of the other.
well, it's
Of the new-
typically come up at the end. I mean, if somebody asked for it at the beginning, I don't know why we wouldn't, but we haven't. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we actually paid it for the previous year,
Okay,
but it hasn't been asked for this year yet.
all right, I'll try to, but just assume that, yeah. put that
Okay,
on the
and I'll
warrant.
put that in the notes, we'll just put that on next warrant.
Yep.
I think I am remembering something about the availability of the bags is less than it used to be in the past.
okay.
And so I would suggest that if there's any issue with that, if we're as a board saying that we want to
Oh,
make sure that that's available, and also potentially to the college that maybe we can just like sort of pre-approve if those bags
Okay.
need to be purchased or
Okay.
something, that we would approve that money to go ahead and buy them because we want to have that happen this year.
and would maybe, the highway department be willing that following Monday or whatever to go around and
We always do.
you do? So if the college expanded the situation into even the college property, which is vast and.
We don't go on the college property. We
You
go
won't?
on College Road. We'd love to go on College.
So they could,
Yeah, we could do college.
they
I'm
could
sure
get them
we
all
can.
down to the gate there or something, or,
But those green, if we get the green up bags, and I can't remember
Right,
where we got them
can
before.
dispose of those.
Those are, that's a free disposal. You
Right.
can't just,
It's not
you
in
know,
any
go
bag.
grab your trash bag from your house and start filling it up.
so where do we,
It's gotta be
I've
something
got it,
like
I've
that.
got
It's
it
gotta
online
be
right
listed.
now, I'll look
Okay.
at it, I'll look at it.
Okay.
And then in the years past, we put them at Powers', some at the library before, Galen's. I don't know if the school would be willing to, you know, put up a sign and say, hey, we have some here. You know,
Woodman's has had them in the past too.
yep. So,
that's good, all good.
Yeah, I think we can coordinate the
Yeah, and there's a
getting the
lot of
bags to
places in
people. It's
Bennington,
just
yeah,
the,
yeah.
if there's a cost that we should just say, oh, okay.
Or a shortage of
Yeah.
that or whatever. we
Yeah.
can
Okay,
source
I'll look
them.
into it, I'll look into it.
And that'd come out of Parks and Recreation.
If we're picking up the parks, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know of any parks on College Road though, so.
well, there's plenty of people smoking in the grass, sitting down, so we'll call it a park.
It's a wetland.
2-person park.
It's a natural area. That's included.
Okay, next.
I do have an item that does need to be, I think, I don't know if it needs a formal vote, but I think we need to take a position, is that an issue that came up in the sidewalk project here is that BCR, this is a federal grant funded project, and so certain testings need to be completed. One of which is testing the cement that's going in there. And BCRC has used a testing company for years to do this testing. It's convenient for them because of where they are, and they feel like it's reliable testing, and it's always been approved up until this year. And the state now is saying that that this company is not going to be approved going forward, not because of any issue, but because the state's requiring a certain, that certain fees be paid essentially, and the company's doesn't feel like they do enough work
To
on
pay the
approved
fees.
projects to justify the fees that are
Pay to play.
so there is another testing company that out of Rutland that we could use. We've been given, the state is not in a position to say that we can use this company this time. But they're essentially,
They didn't say we could.
in the minutes to the meeting, and they basically said, using that testing for this time is not going to interfere with the funding of your project. Without saying that we're approving of you doing it, I think that,
Save some money.
yeah. and
It's a
it'd save-
loophole.
It'd save about $3,000.
Because of where we started so long ago, I think it was 5. It was 5.
Well, it may have been 5, but we'd have
The
to
savings.
increase the budget of the project by
Yes.
$3,000 if we wanted to use the official one. My recommendation to the board is that we go with the VCRC's testing. That I think that it's not a quality issue. It's just it's a fee issue, and I think that we should ask BCRC to say to them that we're not going to use you in future projects because we're not going to be able to, just for your information, which they probably don't care that we're saying that, but I think it would be important to just.
I don't think it was BCRC, it was the engineer group. They've been
Okay.
that firm has done multiple tests for multiple projects that BCRC has overseen,
Oh, gotcha.
but that's the frame groups, that's just the guy, that's the company they call all the time, that's who they do business with. So if they're going to, even that engineer firm, they're going to keep doing federal work, this is the last one that'll get through that loophole.
So if the board would approve it, I will relay the message to the engineer that they can proceed with the company that they had listed originally, and with the understanding that we wouldn't be able to do that in the future on other projects. acceptable?
Yep.
Yes.
And if anybody has any comment out there in the virtual world, that, please give me a call or notify the village and we'll address that.
Sidewalk,
Um,
slow test. They take a sample and bring it to the,
Sidewalk.
yeah, for the sidewalk expansion.
I have
They
no
break
further
it after 30 days.
business.
No, it's a strong.
Any old business?
I was just gonna bring up, now that Bill has stepped down from the board, I'd hate to see all his good hard work go for naught. And I think we really need to kind of step up and commit to getting the ordinance issue resolved. And I guess my question would be, what's a fair amount of time that we should allow to that? Certainly a month seems like it might be tight, but if we could commit to 2 months, I had mentioned to Tara that I'll help. I had offered my help to Bill, and he did most of it himself anyway. I helped a little bit, but I'm willing to help. I know Tara mentioned that she would like to, that's something she would take over, and I'd be certainly happy to help her with it as well. But it just seemed like one of those things that we often got a little bit of momentum, and then it seemed like 2 months would go by.
Did you
and
ever
we get
sit
nothing
down
done.
with Bill on that, like the offer post, to kind of give the?
No, that's why I actually, we
Right.
spoke earlier, I said that we should probably do that relatively soon.
If the three of you, and if I'm available, I would come too, because I have some of those folders and some of the old stuff.
He gave me his ordinance packet and
Oh.
asked me to pass it along to someone.
Okay. But I do think,
Don't
a
think so.
half hour of
There
his
you go.
time.
That's not very thick. It said like 2,000 feet.
Well, that might just be his notes, that might not be the entire, I'm not sure what that is, but.
And we can talk a little bit about what the issues are. The issues are what we need to align or adopt with Bennington in order to get.
And Bill knows a lot of that.
That's
He's
right.
We just gotta sit down and
That's
wrap our
right.
heads around it. So if we committed to getting at least that first meeting done between now and the next meeting, by the following meeting, I'd love to say that we could review. I think we talked about splitting them up into groups of 20, passing them out, at least going over the language, seeing the ones we have issues, any ones we don't have issues with, to try to push those through. If there are issues, then we can do it in sections, but I can't imagine it would take us that long to get at least the ones that are pretty much already aligned with done.
The issue is the process of how you actually formally make those changes.
Sure.
And that, Lori's better with that, and I'm sure that Bill's got a sense of that. There's multiple warrant meetings and
Yep.
all of that, but once we get to a point where we are proposing that change, then we can do that.
So I've had several community members talking, and I've been telling them that we are working on this, and every time I see them, I say, yes, we're still working on that, and I think they're seeing very little progress, and the frustration might be building a little bit, which is understandable.
I'm not sure about the formal process, though. I think from my reading of the minutes of Bennington's approval of their ordinances, it was pretty streamlined, and there could have been warnings that I was unaware of because I was just reading minutes from the meetings, but it seemed like they were able to just adopt
Ordinances are one thing, bylaws are another.
Correct.
Right. I think we're kind of talking about a little bit of both, maybe, but the ordinance is easier. I think that was the point that Bill was trying to make. Maybe a brief meeting with Dan Monks too, to help us understand that process. I'm sure he was involved with
Is it, how about with it, so that there isn't another lag, would somebody be willing to report to make a report for the next board meeting?
Yeah, we'll
Commit to that?
I mean, we can contact, we'll meet with Bill, we'll get all his notes, and give an update, and then we'll put a plan forward on. After we talk to him, we'll know a little bit more about how much, if 2 months is reasonable.
So is that something, Lori, would we be able to add that to the agenda for next month?
If you add it soon, like in a couple days.
Well, if we, would we I don't want.
Or, I mean,
I
you
don't
can
think we-
add it to the agenda if there's no.
We're just reading out, I mean, I don't think
If
we're
you're just
making any
discussion.
decisions. I think
Yeah,
we're just
sure.
gonna,
But I
We can
think
at
there's a
least talk
preference.
about we can at least talk about what our meeting is about and how we want to
formulate a
proceed.
plan.
So what I was suggesting is not to.
Just a discussion.
Right, not to notice any formal change, but to just put
Put it on.
ordinance as an agenda item
Yep.
to
Sure.
discuss.
Which would
Because
go
I
under
think
old
there's
business.
there's just a preference to not address a whole bunch of issues under old business or new business, you know, because
Sure.
then you don't have actual notice of what exactly is being discussed at a meeting. But if you put ordinance like up as an agenda item, then people know, oh,
Sure.
we're gonna be discussing ordinances.
Sounds good, thank you.
Anything else that anybody
The
has?
only thing I want to mention, we probably should have done this at the beginning of the meeting, but we did have an annual meeting and an election, and we had a member of the board, Bill Scully, step down after, I don't know how many years of service. Not even sure. 4?
Yeah, 4, I think.
4. And we had an election, and Tara Lowry here was elected to serve, and we're happy to have her. Thank you for stepping up. And we also had a tumultuous change in the leadership of the board. I felt that
Seems like we're still adjusting to that.
I just wanted to mention that I stepped aside because I'm having less time to commit and focus, and John has taken the reins of chair of the board, and he's doing an excellent job of whipping this board into shape after years of
Controlled chaos.
controlled chaos.
Well, thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you, Tara, too, for being
I'm happy to be joining.
willing to serve in that capacity. Okay, so I think we do need a brief executive session, and I'll entertain a motion to move into executive.
Purpose of the executive personnel
Personnel and
and contracts. So moved.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.